Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so today's explainer is diving into a really powerful blueprint from a text called The Architect of Self-Reliance. If you're the kind of person who loves a good, no-nonsense framework for getting out of a rut and building actual real-world momentum, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to explore the exact psychological triggers and the practical steps that the source material outlines to transform stagnation into unstoppable progress. We've got a great visual roadmap ready to go, so let's just jump right in. At some point, you have to stop waiting for rescue and become your own hero. Just let that settle for a second. The source actually hits us with this arresting hook right out of the gate. Because, well, let's be honest, subconsciously, most of us operate under this comforting illusion that a lifeline is eventually coming, right? We kind of think a promotion, a sudden windfall, or just some lucky break is going to descend from the sky and magically solve all our problems. But the foundational premise of this entire blueprint completely shatters that illusion. It argues that waiting is actually the very thing keeping us stuck. Which brings us to a really direct, frankly, uncompromising question. So, who is coming to save you? According to our source material, the answer is nobody. Literally no one is coming. But, and this is key, the text frames this not as some massive tragedy, but as the absolute best, most liberating news you will ever hear. Why? Because the very second you realize nobody is coming to fix things for you, you stop looking outward for salvation. You're forced to look inward for capability. It completely shifts your energy, going from passive hope to active problem solving. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the waiting room trap. Time to stop waiting. So here's exactly how the source defines this trap. The waiting room is described as a psychological state of inaction where people live their whole lives waiting for their dreams to happen. And wow, it's incredibly relatable, isn't it? We can contextualize this so easily in everyday life. It's like waiting for the perfect time to start a business, or waiting for the economy to magically improve. The source points out that people can literally spend decades stuck in this holding pattern. Think about it like treating your life like a giant dentist's waiting room. You're just sitting there, maybe flipping through some outdated magazines, fully expecting the receptionist, or, the universe in this case, to suddenly call your name out. But here's the kicker. Your name isn't on the list because you never actually made an appointment. It's a comfortable trap, sure, but it is fundamentally a trap of total inaction. But the text aggressively pushes back against this whole waiting mentality. It says, broke is a financial situation, not a life sentence. This is an absolutely crucial distinction, especially if you're currently hustling to get a project off the ground. The source basically treats a lack of resources simply as objective data. It's really just a starting point on a game board. By decoupling your core identity from your current bank balance, you strip away all that emotional weight and the shame of being broke. Because think about it, if you view being broke as who you inherently are, you're going to stay there. But if you view it as just the coordinates of where you happen to be standing right now, well, then you can simply plot a route to somewhere else. Moving right along to Section 2, the wake-up call. Facing reality. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the source draws a super sharp contrast between two completely opposing mindsets. On one side, we have poverty of the mind. That's the passive state of waiting for these massive entities like the government, the economy, or your employer to just swoop in and fix your situation. It's basically outsourcing your survival. On the exact opposite side, we have self-reliance. The text explicitly points out that this isn't about arrogance or, having a massive ego. It's literally about survival. You just cannot rely on macroeconomics to save you. Look at it this way. If the elevator is broken, you can't just stand in the lobby complaining to the building manager forever. At some point, you just have to decide to build the stairs yourself. And that right there is the pure essence of the self-reliant mindset. And all of that contrast really culminates in this hard-hitting maxim from the text. The most dangerous poverty is the poverty of the mind. Listen, if you take away absolutely anything from the first half of this explainer, let it be this core concept. A lack of money, that's just a logistical issue. It's a math problem, and math problems can be solved with time and effort. But poverty of the mind, that really deep-seated belief that you are fundamentally helpless and just have to wait in that metaphorical dentist's waiting room forever, that is what actually guarantees failure. The true danger isn't in starting with absolutely nothing. No, the danger is mentally accepting that you can't build something from it. All right, Section 3, the skills shift, going from learning to earning. And this brilliantly illustrates the explicit chain reaction of success that's mapped out in the text. Let's break it down. Step 1, learning is free. We live in an era of unprecedented access. Think about it for a second. You can literally learn to code, design graphics, edit videos, or master digital marketing by watching free tutorials right now, today. Then, step 2, skills follow learning. When you consistently apply that free knowledge, you actually create a tangible asset. You forge a real skill, which leads us to step 3. Money follows skills. You see, the market is entirely indifferent to your background, your struggles, or where you started. It doesn't care. It only rewards utility and capability. It's this incredibly direct, completely unromantic input to output equation. The text just completely strips away all the mystique of success. It's not magic. It's for sure not a genetic lottery. It is quite simply acquiring a skill and offering it to a market that really needs it. Next up is section 4, stacking small wins. This is all about building momentum. So, the source argues that every single massive enterprise out there started with one small transaction. Literally just one. One product sold out of a garage, one freelance client booked, one tiny problem solved for a neighbor. You don't aim for the overnight miracle because, well, hoping for a miracle puts you right back in that waiting room, metaphorically buying lottery tickets. Instead, the blueprint insists you've got to stack small wins. You learn a skill, you make a move, you secure a tiny victory. Maybe you make $50. Awesome. Then you figure out how to make 100. Over time, those individual bricks become a towering building. You just watch those small wins compound into massive momentum. And that momentum, that becomes the exact vehicle that drives you miles and miles away from that starting point of being broke. Finally, we reach section 5, the ultimate reward, owning your success. When you build it yourself, nobody can take the credit or the lesson. This core tenet explains exactly why the source views self-reliance as the absolute ultimate form of empowerment. Think about what happens when you are rescued, right? Your success belongs, at least in part, to your rescuer. You're kind of indebted to them. But when you construct your own way out, step by step, skill by skill, small win by small win, the ownership is absolute. You own the credit for those victories. And honestly, arguably even more importantly, you own the hard-earned lessons from your failures. You intimately know how the machine works because, well, you built the whole shebang with your own 2 hands. That knowledge becomes this totally untouchable asset that no shifting economy and no external force can ever repossess. As this framework comes to a close, the source leaves us with this highly energetic, super motivational decree. Stop waiting, start building. You are the one you've been waiting for. It just perfectly wraps up the concepts we've explored today. It demands that we exit that waiting room once and for all. It demands we completely reject the poverty of the mind and realize that the hero we've been hoping for, the rescuer we've been waiting to arrive, is actually just our future self, armed with the exact skills we actively choose to start learning today. So I want to leave you with this final really provocative thought. Based on absolutely everything we've unpacked in this explainer today, if being broke is just your starting point, what are you building today? Really look at the blueprint we just walked through. Find that one small transaction you can initiate right now, this very second, and just start stacking. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep learning, keep building.